I'm Amelia Mosley and you're watching BTN. Thanks for hanging out with us again. Let's see what's coming up on today's show. We find out why 2024 is the year of democracy. Ask what age is too young for kids to have a phone. And meet the presenters of Juiced TV. But first today, it's that time of year again, when the government lets us all know how it's going to spend the country's money. Yep, it's budget time, and Sass is going to tell you why it matters.
In a world, or more specifically a country, Australia, facing problems.
I'm looking at the infrastructure now. It's going to take billions.
Where finding a place to live has become a crisis.
I'm at the auction. I'm going to need backup.
And inflation looms over the economy.
We have to get out of here.
We can't. Have you seen the price of petrol?
There's one thing that citizens look to.
All right, team, it's time to release the budget.
Yep, it's the blockbuster of the political calendar. The federal budget is, well, a budget. It breaks down how the government is going to spend the country's money so that it can pay for all the important things Australia relies on, like defence, education, health, welfare, infrastructure, and a whole lot more.
I've got an unfinished suburban rail loop here. Looks expensive.
Rail loops? What about defence? We need new warships and submarines.
We've got a situation in the classroom. We're gonna need some money too.
I'm at the reef.
It's not looking good.
Deciding where to allocate the money is never easy. And it's this guy's job, Australia's Treasurer, Jim Chalmers. This year, he's facing some extra challenges.
A conflict in the Middle East casts a shadow over the global economy, and it does risk another spike in inflation.
Inflation is basically an increase in prices, and it's been caused by a whole bunch of different issues, from COVID to overseas conflicts. And it means a lot of families are struggling.
And you can expect to see in the budget a focus on cost of living help.
The government has already announced some of the things that will feature in the budget, like help for students, tax cuts, a drought fund to help farmers, and money to tackle the issue of violence against women.
Okay, I'm crunching in the numbers and it's coming to a lot.
Yep, all that money has to come from somewhere, and that somewhere is us. The government gets its money from taxing businesses and individuals. So, as well as figuring out how it is going to spend money, it has to make sure it doesn't spend too much. This year, the government has said it wants to stay in surplus, which means the country is earning more than it spends and paying off its debts. But it's also going to be trying really hard to keep as many people happy as possible, especially with an election coming up next year.
Okay, it's ready.
Do you think we've done enough, boss?
Is it going to fix the problems? But will it get us re-elected?
We're just gonna have to wait and see.
The Sky put on a spectacular show in southern Australia over the weekend with the Southern Lights. Do you know another name for this phenomenon? Is it the Aurora Borealis, Aurora Oceanus, or Aurora Australis? It's Aurora Australis. The northern lights are called Aurora Borealis, and over the past couple of days, the world has seen a lot. They were caused by storms on the sun, which sent out charged particles. Those particles get trapped by Earth's magnetic field and interact with the atmosphere in a very pretty way. Can you name the company that built the Starliner spacecraft? Is it SpaceX, Virgin, or Boeing? It's Boeing. The Starliner was designed to take people to and from the International Space Station, and it was supposed to take off on its first crewed test flight last week, but the launch was called off at the last minute because of a technical problem.
The count had been going very smoothly, and they spotted the issue. They followed their flight rules and made the decision to scrub so that they could do some more troubleshooting and decide what we were going to do next.
Which country won this year's Eurovision Grand Final? It was Switzerland. Nemo took out top spot with this song, The Code.
I hope this contest can live up to its promise and continue to stand for peace and dignity for every person in this world.
Australia's entry by Electric Fields didn't make the grand final, but still made history as the first Eurovision entry to use an Australian First Nations language. Why were these celebrities all dressed up last week? Was it for the Academy Awards, the Met Gala, or the Grammys? It was the Met Gala, an annual fundraising event for the Costume Institute at New York's Metropolitan Museum of Art. Scientists have been working to figure out the age of the only diprotodon ever found in the Northern Territory. Do you know what its nickname is? Shirley, Sharon, or Sheila? It's Shirley. Her bones were discovered more than a decade ago, and we now know that she's somewhere between 112 and 130,000 years old. Impressive. 2024 is a big year for elections right around the globe. India is in the middle of the world's biggest one at the moment. Then we've got the US and UK coming up, along with, well, a lot of others. In fact, this year's being called the Year of Democracy because more people are voting than ever before. So let's get to know democracy a little better with Nat's help.
Oh, hello there. My name's Democracy. Now, you may have heard of me because I'm a pretty big deal. Most of the world either knows me, knows of me, or wants to be me. My name comes from two Greek words, demos meaning people, like you, and kratos meaning power or rule, which together basically means you rule. Not in like you're cool kind of way, no, more like a you get a say in how your country operates kind of way. And this year is a big year for me. A bunch of the largest democratic countries around the world are all heading to the polls to vote for their leaders. In India, almost 1 billion people are voting for 543 members of their parliament, the Lok Sabha, over 44 days, making it the biggest election in history. It's just one of more than 50 countries that have either had or are going to have elections this year. Countries like Indonesia, Russia, Pakistan, Bangladesh and Korea have all had elections. And coming up, we've got South Africa, Venezuela, Belgium, the UK and, of course, the US.
That's been the work of my first term, to fight for our democracy.
Joe Biden is a great threat to our democracy.
By some estimates, up to 4 billion people will be eligible to vote this year. That's nearly half of the world's population. Whoa. So yeah, it's a good time to be me. But, you know, I haven't always been this popular. When I was first born, back in the days of ancient Greece, I was a bit of a novelty. Most places had leaders who either inherited the job or took it by force. And I'm still not the only way to run a country. There's also monarchies, dictatorships, do as I say, and communism. You're gonna share that? But for the past few centuries, I've become the most popular way to run a country. Although not all democracies are made equal. In fact, only a few countries are considered full democracies, where voting is fully free and fair. You see, some countries allow people to vote, but they're not really given any choice, or there isn't as much freedom to criticise the government. Some democratic leaders have been criticised for not treating all of their citizens equally. And some worry there's been a rise in leaders with extreme views around the world, and that social media and even AI are being used to shape the way we think. You might not know it by looking at me, but I'm actually quite fragile.
Which is why experts say it's important we don't take democracy for granted, and we work to give it all the things it needs to thrive. Like making sure everyone's allowed to vote for whoever they like, and they have the information they need to make an informed decision.
So, it looks like we've got some interesting times ahead. Still, it's an exciting year to be me. Oh, I love being me.
Which was the first country in the world to give equal voting rights to all of its citizens? Australia, the USA, or New Zealand? It was New Zealand. It had universal suffrage, which means everyone can vote, by 1893. This Friday is Ida Hobbit, or the International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia and Transphobia. It's all about raising awareness for the discrimination LGBTQ+ people have faced and continue to face around the world. Jack caught up with some students to find out what it means to them.
I'm Alex, I use anything but he, him pronouns, and I'm Ara, ace and agender.
I'm Ruby, I go by any pronouns just because I don't really care, and I think I'm Arawace. I don't really do the labelling thing, I just kind of describe it.
I'm Misha, I use she, they pronouns, and I am a very proud lesbian.
My name is Kani. My pronouns are she, her.
I'm Phoebe, I use she, her, and I'm Misha's proud ally bestie.
Meet some of the members of Henley High's Prism Club.
So it's a club for queer kids and allies.
It's where they have like a safe space to just like be themselves really and not be judged and everything really.
So everyone's welcome here. We always just chill, have some music on in the background, interact with other people.
The club organises school events to raise awareness and show support for other LGBTQIA+ students.
Seeing other people come, being so thankful that we've done it and so appreciative makes us feel so good, and it makes us determined to do better into the years.
Doing more of this and then more people know about it, and then it's going to get less and less homophobic in schools, because you can't really be homophobic towards it if you kind of understand it and why it's important.
Recently, they've been putting together pride ribbons for Ida Hobbit.
Ida Hobbit is the International Day Against LGBTQIA+ discrimination. So the name Ida Hobbit is actually an acronym which includes homophobia, biphobia, interphobia and transphobia.
Ida Hobbit marks the day when homosexuality was removed from the World Health Organization classification of diseases.
It's a significant moment in history for the queer community, as it really signals to the world that a person's sexual or gender identity isn't a disease or something to be fixed.
2, 4, 6, 8, gay is just as good as straight.
For a long time, people who were gay or had different gender identities faced discrimination, even violence. And in many places, including Australia, people could be arrested for who they were.
I was standing in a park and I'm arrested.
Biologically, it was considered that it was unnatural and therefore a disease, something that could be cured. Making it a disease meant that you could also criminalise it and keep it out of the public sphere. Not only were you sick, but it's something that you could essentially go to jail for.
A lot has changed since then, thanks to the many people who fought for the rights of LGBTQIA+ people. But discrimination still exists.
For young people, it's 2 in 3 LGBTQIA+ young people still experience discrimination, and 60% of queer young people don't feel safe at school being out and open. That's even higher for transgender and diverse young people, closer to 75%. So we really talk about going rainbow on this day to show your allyship, as that visibility is such an important signal of acceptance to the community.
It's the reason why Adrian and many others say days like Ida Hobbit are important to celebrate.
And I think Ida Hobbit is a good example of people feeling like they can express themselves in all different ways.
Well, I know one of the first things I used to think was that there was something wrong with me, and there definitely isn't. There's nothing wrong with anyone who doesn't know what their sexuality is, what their identity is, and Like, they're doing their best.
We're watching BTN from the Northern Central School.
Now, how old should you be before you get a phone? It's a question that comes up a lot, and in France, a panel appointed by the government has recommended smartphones should be kept away from anyone under 13. Nat found out more.
Mobile phones, the incredible invention that gives us access to all the knowledge in the world. Whether it's talking to friends, scrolling through endless feeds, listening to music or playing games, they've come to be a massive part of our everyday lives.
Whoa.
But how young is too young to own one of these magical slabs of glass and metal?
When I got my first phone, I was 12. I was 10. I was around like 8 to 9. I think I was about 10.
Well, a new report from France has a hot take on the debate. Basically, until you're 11, the report says you shouldn't own a smartphone at all. Only once you turn 13 should you be allowed to have a smartphone that's connected to the internet. And when it comes to social media, well, it's recommended a ban for kids under 15, and even says that some apps, including Instagram, Snapchat and TikTok, should be off the cards until you turn 18.
I think that's pretty fair because when you get a phone, you're like sort of exposed to all this social media and inappropriate stuff.
Some experts reckon that kids are spending way too much time on their screens. And that's no accident. Companies want to make their phones and apps as exciting and addictive as possible to keep you on them for as long as possible.
So your brain releases this thing called dopamine, which is your feel-good hormone. And when you get these lovely doses of dopamine while you're on your phone, coming off your phone feels like a real letdown.
It sucks up so much of children's time, and some studies are showing that kids are on their phones on average 7, 8, 9 hours a day. Some of them are spending more time on their phones than they're actually spending time sleeping.
Too much screen time could also be affecting kids' development, making them sadder and more anxious.
And you might find yourself starting to compare yourself to other people, and that's called social comparison. You're looking at everybody else's highlight reel. Everyone's posting about how great their life is, and you're thinking, hang on, I'm not doing as well as everyone else. So this, of course, naturally starts to affect your mood.
Unrestricted access to the internet can also leave kids open to seeing inappropriate things online or being targeted by criminals. But not everyone thinks a ban is the answer. Some people think kids should be taught how to use phones and social media apps safely and responsibly. They are a huge part of our everyday lives, after all.
It's not that internet's all bad and mobile phones are all bad. We just want children to lead a balanced life, so they're still playing sport, still spending time with friends and family, still out in nature having a good time.
Here in Australia, there are no rules on how old you have to be to own a phone or internet-enabled device. But you are supposed to be at least 13 before you're allowed to use certain social media apps. And now, South Australia is thinking about bringing in a social media ban for kids under 14. There are also rules to stop students from using phones while they're at school, which so far seems to be pretty successful, with one report suggesting bullying rates have gone down. But what do you think? Could you live without your phone?
Maybe. Yeah, probably.
I think I would be able to survive.
It wouldn't be that bad, honestly.
Did you know there are more mobile phones in the world than people? According to the International Telecommunication Union, in 2022, there were more than 8.58 billion mobile subscriptions in use worldwide.
Neither the Adelaide Crows nor the Brisbane Lions players knew quite how to react after this dramatic draw in the AFL.
I don't know how to feel.
That sums it up there.
For most of the match, it was an arm wrestle, with the lead changing more than a dozen times. But when that final siren sounded, scores were locked at 90 all.
Siren! It's a draw!
Draws are super rare in Aussie rules.
This is about my 27th or 28th year in AFL footy. I can't remember ever having been involved in a draw.
Next to a draw that's even more dramatic. This Super Netball game ended in a draw, and while the score on the TV was correct, the scoreboard inside the stadium was wrong. It showed the Lightning winning, so the players left. After a 50-minute investigation, the players were sent back out for overtime, and it was the Giants who eventually won.
With a last touch.
Officials apologised and are trying to make sure it never happens again. Now from scoring to soaring. Austrian skydivers Marco Fürst and Marco Wattenspiel became the first people to successfully fly wingsuits through London's iconic Tower Bridge. The duo leapt from a helicopter at more than 900 metres, reaching a top speed of 246 kilometres per hour.
Well, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling really good. It was quite intense, I would say. But yeah, we were well prepared and I'm pretty happy now.
Finally today, let's catch up with some young TV presenters. They've been taking part in Juiced TV, which is a world-first program made by Kids in Hospital for Kids in Hospital. Check it out.
G'day guys, it's me, not Mario, but Keanu, and I'm so excited to be back on Juice TV with you all today.
Yep, this is not Mario, it's Keanu. And during his time at Queensland's Children's Hospital, he's become one of the faces of Juiced TV, a program made for kids in hospital by Kids in Hospital.
So I'd seen Juice TV hang around the hospital time to time. I actually knew about them because on the TV screens, you can see they make really cool content.
It was created by a kids TV presenter who wanted to make time in hospital more fun for kids like Keanu. It also gives them a chance to share details about what they're going through so that other kids know what to expect.
I had an MRI scan. Turned out it was a very rare type of brain tumor called a craniopharyngioma. It was really scary at first. Like, I was terrified, not sure of what the implications might be. One cool thing that came out of that though was that I stopped aging for 2 years. So you don't know how old I really am. I am quite an outgoing guy, to be honest, so I am used to a lot of performing on stage and everything, but I certainly was nervous to have like a giant camera focusing on me. Sometimes you might cringe a little bit, which is of course normal. It's like, oh, it's me. But it's like brightens your day up to know that like, oh, wow, it's me on TV. Look, Mom, it's me.
2.
And along the way, I met...
But Keanu isn't the only host.
Hi, my name is Madison and I'm your host for Juice TV today. We're excited to be on Juice TV today. Hey everybody, I'm Izzy and I'm Sophie and we're sisters.
Anyone can get involved in Juice TV, whether it's presenting in the TV studio that's been built inside the hospital.
Hey everyone, it's me Alice and I'm your host today for Juice TV.
Or having a chat from their bed.
Hi, my name's Maisie. Today I want to tell you about Lego Friends.
Oh, and it's not unusual for a famous face or two to pop up.
Welcome to Juice TV, Captain Jack Sparrow! I saw one about like Tom Holland and all that, and like there was Chris Hemsworth there.
This is Loki here and Thor, and we're here with Juice TV, and this is Cohen.
Yeah!
Hospital workers say Juice TV has done wonders for keeping kids' spirits up and creating a community.
Blake and Jordan, thank you for being on the show today.
You're welcome. It's exciting to be on Juice TV.
And as for Keanu...
So I've been looking now to perhaps be like a TV star, go into the movie business, like the showbiz, and that's all because of like Juice TV has shown me that whole world and it was so cool.
Oh, Keanu, you're going to have my job next. Keep it up. Well, that's it for now, but we'll be back with more news for you next week. Until then, you can catch Newsbreak every weeknight and head online for BTN specials, BTN High, and a whole heap of resources for your teachers. Have a great week, and I'll see you soon. Bye.